podcast. I'm your host, Mari Reesberg. Over the past several years, I've combined my degrees in acting and somatic psychology to share my sustaining creativity techniques with performers. And now I've decided to share it with a bigger audience that includes you. I believe we are all creative, and this podcast is all about that. I'll be interviewing people from all backgrounds, ages, and creativity experiences to share just how creative we all are. Today, I'll be chatting with Stan Lai, playwright and director. Please enjoy Stan Lai. Welcome to the Sustaining Creativity podcast. Today, I'm chatting with Stan Lai, playwright and director. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Mari. It's my pleasure, my honor to be here. I love the name of your podcast because sustaining. I mean, come on, creativity is difficult enough, and then you want to sustain it. Great, great, great. Yeah, I
So
love it.
true. Yes, it's all about how do we take creativity throughout a lifetime. It's so important. So I'm excited to
But
chat with you.
it's totally pertinent. I love your title, and
Mm,
it really means something. It's not just two words, really.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for speaking to it. And, I let's dive right in. Why don't you let our
Sure.
listeners know a little bit more about who you are and what you
Okay.
do?
All right. Well, tall order for a few minutes, but I've been working continuously as a playwright and director in Asia. Basically, that's where I'm known,
Mm-hmm.
and I dare say I'm quite well known in Asia. And
Yeah.
I started in Taiwan, and Taiwan speaks Chinese. All literature and theater is in Chinese, and so it's the same language as China. So
Mm-hmm.
my work is well received in China also. So for the last I've been working continuously as a creative artist for 40 years.
Wow.
This year is the 40th anniversary of my theater group called Performance Workshop, and we sort of pioneered a style of theater in the Chinese language, which we didn't have a Chinese language modern theater when I started in the
Wow.
80s. And we sort of I dare not say that we created or built it, but we did contribute to it for sure.
Yeah.
And just to give our listeners an idea, I've done over 40 some original
Wow.
plays that I direct myself, either in Taipei or in
Mm-hmm.
Shanghai, where I'm also based, and I have my own theater called Theater Above, which is dedicated to the performance of my work. And I say
Mm.
that with a grain of salt because not many living playwrights have buildings like that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, and just to give your listeners a sort of an idea, this year alone, this year I have 14 different plays of my own that I wrote
Wow.
and I directed that are being performed in over 50 cities in the
Mm.
Chinese world. Uh, well, it's not every night. It doesn't work like Broadway, but I
Sure.
counted over 200 some performances this year, just
Mm.
just in my own direction, and not
Wow.
counting direction of other people. Yeah. So currently, I'm working on two different productions in two different cities, Taipei and Shanghai, and so I mean, it's crazy, but it's great to be here in the middle of the night here in Shanghai talking
Yeah.
to you. Yeah, and in fact, I just was on an airplane from Taipei to Shanghai,
Oh.
and in Taipei, I'm working on a new play called Descent, which is a comedy about two vagrants who claim they are gods from
Mm.
from the heavens, from the Chinese
Mm-hmm.
heavens. And here in Shanghai, I'm working on a 6-hour play called A Go, which is about the Tibetan diaspora
Mm.
people. It's quite an epic work. It's totally different
Yeah.
from Descent. It's like and so that's why maybe it might be interesting to your listeners that most of my work does not resemble, my plays don't resemble each other. It's like
Mm,
we can say like Chekhov wrote four major plays, but they
right.
all look the
They
same.
all the
It's
same,
like,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
No, no, I'm a great Chekhov fan, and actually
Sure.
disagree that he wrote that, but they do look the same, and they do,
Hmm.
it seems like there seem to be the same characters in each of them,
Hmm.
and the style is the same. But that's one of the things that, to me, I don't think it's anything special to work. I mean,
Mm,
for someone to keep on doing the same thing, I think that's great too.
yeah,
But to keep on doing different things, that's also great. It depends on what
absolutely.
you do. Yeah. Mhm.
This is so true. Oh my goodness, so many questions, but I'm very curious. When
Uh-huh.
you think of creativity and being creative, what does it
Hmm.
mean to you to be creative?
Yeah, yeah. In in the very simplest sense, it's being able to make something out of nothing.
Mm,
I think that's a definition.
hmm.
But then to be creative, there's there's something you need to express, and then you have to know how to express it, or you have to figure out a way how to express it. And
Hmm.
here is where the problems start, because you know yeah, because there's something you want to express, all right, and it gnaws at you, and you want to get it out, and then you finally get it out, and it could very well be, in a very cruel sense, that it wasn't worth doing. I mean,
Mm,
or
hmm.
come on, 10 people have done that, or 100 people have done that already. uh,
Yeah.
it's like the real creative process to me is the examination of what you are trying to do. It's like,
Mm,
because to me, ideas, I must say, ideas are cheap. It's really, to have a creative idea is no big deal.
yeah.
And and there's so many ideas that that seem like good ideas, but if you really know how to look at them, you say, oh, let's skip on this one because it's not going to work. Yeah, let's pass, it's not going to work.
Sure.
Yeah. So I don't know, I work in the theater. Theater,
Hmm.
I've worked in film. I've done two feature films.
Mm.
I've done a very crazy television show that I talked about in my book on creativity,
Mm.
which was a daily made 1 hour sitcom broadcast on the same day.
Ooh.
So yeah, and for 5 days a week. So every
Oh my
weeknight.
gosh.
Yeah, yeah, it was crazy. We started with a contract to do 40 episodes, and sort of it was like a favor for a friend,
Hmm.
and we wound up doing 600.
Oh my
It was
goodness.
yeah, it was so popular. It was crazy. It was like, you could, I mean, if this were going on today, and
Hmm.
and I have the know-how to do this would be so incredible, because everything, we were doing this in the 90s in Taiwan,
Yeah.
where everything seemed very surreal, particularly in politics, where
Hmm.
people would say the most outrageous things or do the most outrageous things, and in the name of democracy and everything. And so the show was basically a sitcom, like
Mm.
Friends, or
Sure.
so you have a core of characters, but they're reacting to the news of the day,
Mm.
and so yeah, and so we're writing. It's like, I'm up at 7, I'm in the office at 7 in the morning,
Yeah.
and then I have an outline for a script at 10 in the morning, and then we work with improvisation, and we finally have a script in the afternoon, and then we shoot
Wow.
around 4 or 5, and we broadcast at 8. It's like crazy, crazy days. I've done that. Okay. And as I said, 600 episodes, of which I personally am responsible for 250.
Oh my
So
goodness.
yeah, yeah. So it's like, it's crazy. I mean, if this were today, it would be a lot of fun to do a show like this.
Sure.
Yeah, because
Oh,
definitely we're going through very surreal times.
we absolutely are. Yeah, in how did you start in playwriting? Like, what's
All
your
right.
earliest experience and
Okay.
how
Great
did this
question.
develop?
I was trained as a scholar and a director at
Mm,
Berkeley,
hmm.
and my previous training was basically zero. I went to college in Taiwan at Wuzhen Catholic University in the English department. I had some very wonderful teachers in literature, but for theater, I had no idea. I mean, I was interested in too many things. Like, I was interested in music and art and poetry and film. And I thought theater would be something that could combine all of these things.
Mm.
I was wrong, basically, but I did get the chance to learn that I was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
That theater is theater. Theater
Yeah.
is not a combination of these things. It's a special skill,
Right.
and once and all this, and the special skill has most to do with people, with
Mm.
with with human beings, with psychology, with how
Mm-hmm.
people work and how the world works and everything, and that's a study in its own. So I I started with a vague idea of I wanted to do something because I was coming out of a culture that was very suppressed in the
Mm-hmm.
1970s and 80s. In Taiwan, we were under martial law,
Mm.
and any kid like me who was interested in the arts would be suppressed. I mean, we couldn't even
Mm-hmm.
wear our hair long. If you wore like my hair today, it's not very long. But if I wore this hair in the 70s in Taipei, I would be careful on the street. I would be
Mm.
sort of dodging the MPs who would be walking around because they could just grab me and put me into a barber shop
Yeah.
and yeah, and they wouldn't give me a haircut. They just shave a big chunk out of my hair
Oh.
and then send you home. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they do. So anyway, I got a PhD at Berkeley, which is turned out to be sort of like an MFA in directing and then an
Mm.
academic PhD. So I think I had a very, very good training there at a very good time.
Mm-hmm.
But when I came back to Taiwan, I went back to teach
Mm.
at a new school. I realized I had no materials to teach with. There was nothing.
Mm.
I mean, you want to teach acting? Okay, you need scripts, right? I need
Yeah.
scripts for scenes. I want to train you to do a scene and then later do a play. Hey, there weren't any. Because of the suppression of the arts, there were no theater companies, there were no playwrights,
Mm.
and so what could I do? My contract was to present a play for the public every semester. And what did we have? We had Shakespeare in translation. You know, uh, my students, I must say, it was a very incredible time because there was no tradition of modern theater. So you
Mm.
have these kids who are coming. They have a family revolution to be able to come to this school. Many of them have
Mm-hmm.
severed ties with their families because
Wow.
in traditional Chinese societies, you say, hey, mom, I want to be an actor. That's like you couldn't have the worst fate that
Mm-hmm.
could happen to a family. It's like because in the old days, it was actors were not very well considered in,
Sure.
uh, in in society in terms,
Yeah.
so I had all these very courageous kids who
Mm.
had actually never seen theater. Can you believe that? I mean, you're a
Wow.
theater major, but you've never seen
Yeah.
theater. And then so how am I going to train you to be an actor and a director and a writer? And so I said, okay, let me first, I'm going to have to trash all my own training, which would be, Stanislavski, all the method and
Mm-hmm.
everything. And let's do something called improvisation and
Mm.
work with the stories that you the students bring me.
Mm.
So so we that's what we did, and I got some amazing stories from
Mm.
the kids. Yeah, I mean, you're like 18, 19-year olds,
Yeah.
and there's such moving
Mm.
and deep and intense experiences that we made into a play,
Mm-hmm.
and the audience reacted very strongly. Even there weren't that many of them. We performed in a 100-seat space for 2 nights, and
Mm-hmm.
and there was an article in the newspaper a few days later that said this was a new style of theater has emerged in
Mm.
Taiwan. Yeah, in the
Wow.
Chinese language. Yeah, and so that's how I started. That was my first play. It was called "We All Grew Up This Way," and it's just about the lives of my students.
Mm.
And then I started using improvisation to work with
Mm-hmm.
more accomplished actors. I started my theater group 40 years ago. The
Mm-hmm.
first play we did was, I mean, I thought it was an academic experience, experiment sort of, because it
Yeah.
was talking about the death of a certain kind of stand-up comedy in
Hmm.
traditional Chinese. And we used stand-up comedy to comment on the fact that it had died. And it's a little tricky.
Yeah.
And and I tell you, that play was so successful. I mean,
I
I'm
bet.
one of those who I'm one of those so lucky that I was
Mm,
successful on my first professional play.
yeah.
And not only did people were just people lining up to buy tickets, in the days when you couldn't buy online.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell you, it's sort of, I mean, Mari, if you're looking at people coming to buy a book of yours or something, and you see blocks and blocks lining up for
Yeah.
blocks and blocks, are you happy or are you sad? It's like there's something cruel about it, But then, and you get a kick out of it, right? It's like, wow,
Yeah.
these people are all lining up you know. And then we made an audio tape out of the performance,
Mm,
2 hours of audio tape of this crosstalk dialogue, which is like
mm-hmm.
stand-up comedy, and it sold 1 million sets, which is 2 million
Wow.
copies in
Wow.
Taiwan, which had only 20 million people. You see, so
Yeah.
so so you have a set for every 20 people.
Mm-hmm.
It was quite a cultural phenomenon, because that I was using comedy to comment on some very serious
Mm,
things like the loss
mm-hmm.
of culture and stuff. So that's how I started, and I have been going nonstop ever since. And during my teaching and my playwriting and my directing,
Mm-hmm.
I had a breakthrough in how to teach, and
Mm,
that's why I wrote the book called Creativitry. And I wrote the book in Chinese in the year 2006,
mm.
and it in and the name in Chinese is not quite Creativitry. It's maybe more like creativology or something like that. It's a word I
Oh,
coined I
yeah.
coined in Chinese, and it's sold 1 million copies, over
This
a
is
million copies in the Chinese
amazing.
world. Yeah, and I said, fine. I've been saying, when's the English version coming out? So now finally it has come out,
Mm,
and I'm very proud of it, because I didn't just translate the Chinese.
mm,
I went with. I mean, it's been 19 years since I wrote that book.
mm-hmm.
I think I have more insight into the creative process,
Yeah.
and I think I do. I mean, at my age, and I mean, all these decades of work, I really think I do have something to offer to people who are interested in creativity.
Absolutely. For individuals who
Sorry to sound arrogant.
no,
I'm not trying to be.
if you have the pieces to back it up, it's not arrogance,
No,
it's just fact.
still, no. Yeah.
For people who are on just beginning this journey of
Hmm.
creativity or finding their creative voice, what are some tools or how would you encourage them to find their own creative voice?
Mm. Well, a lot of my book deals with how to. You see, my breakthrough in learning how to teach creativity,
Hmm.
because in the past I didn't think that teaching creativity was my part of my job description. Like
Ah,
yeah,
yeah,
because you have directing students, you have acting students, and if they're talented, you can enhance their talent, right? But
sure.
how can you give them that
Mm,
first step?
hmm.
And I had this breakthrough where I suddenly realized that in the Buddhist training, there is a saying that you need two things to progress on the path, and one is called wisdom and one is called method.
Mm,
And I
hmm.
thought for a moment, wait a minute, that's true for everything, and that's true for the creative arts for sure.
Hmm.
But are we only teaching method?
Mm,
Because that's what we teach. I mean,
yeah,
if you're learning violin at Juilliard, that's what you're learning.
right.
If you're learning how to direct at Berkeley, that's what you're learning.
Hmm.
And who is in charge of the thing called wisdom? And what
Mm,
is the thing called wisdom? And
yeah.
so my book goes into a lot of that, which is, to me, was very fascinating, because I to 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 define wisdom, I went to like Webster's dictionary, and wisdom is s- the definition of wisdom is qualified, characterized by being wise. Okay, so
Okay.
no, you can't say that's okay. That's not okay, because you can't use the same word to
Define
right.
right,
So I went to
exactly.
wise, and it's characterized by wisdom. Oh my God. Wisdom was the quality of being wise. Okay.
Yeah.
So wise was characterized by wisdom. Oh my God. I said, what? we have a problem, or we have a situation, or we have a fascinating situation. I asked my friend, the head of the philosophy department at Taiwan University, and he said, interesting. Yes, modern societies do not define what wisdom is,
Yeah.
because,
Oh.
yeah, because it's supposed to be something you have to figure out yourself. And the
Mm.
problem is that people do not understand that they have this obligation in a
Mm-hmm.
democracy to figure out what is wisdom, which in turn then goes on to define what happiness means for you.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
You see, that's where we're getting all these
Mm-hmm.
things moving together now. So I suddenly thought, wow, wisdom has disappeared. My contract doesn't have anything to teach, that I need to teach wisdom. I never saw a class in wisdom, or a department of wisdom at Berkeley, or at Cambridge or Harvard. You don't have a, I mean, we should, shouldn't there be an institute of wisdom or graduate study in wisdom? No,
Yeah.
there isn't,
Yeah.
and why? It's because it's a very, very interesting situation where if I claim to know what wisdom is, then what I'm teaching you, what would that be? Would that be a cult? Would
Hmm.
that be, I mean, that could easily become a cult, right? So
Absolutely.
yeah. So that's where, but if that's half of the equation, all right, now we're
Mm-hmm.
in trouble, because we teach method, and we're very good at teaching method in
Yeah.
all aspects. But where is the wisdom of that method? I
Mm.
recall my friend, he passed away, Fu Cong, the great Chinese pianist, the concert pianist.
Mm.
He was specialized in a lot of Chopin. Uh, he was visiting Taipei, and I was driving around with him, and I said, "Hey, what's up? What are you up to?" And because he was having acupuncture on his fingers for
Mm.
arthritis, which is very
Mm-hmm.
painful for a concert pianist because you can't
Yeah.
play, right? Yeah, and I
Sure.
said, and he said, "Oh, I'm having fun. I've been doing the juries for the competitions of these
Mm-hmm.
piano competitions, world international." I said, "Well, how is it?" He said, "My God, the youngsters, the fingers are absolutely incredible." I said,
Mm.
"Well, that's good." And then he suddenly turned to me and he said, we were speaking in Chinese, and suddenly he spoke in English. He said to me, "But where's the music?" Okay.
Oh,
Yeah. So the fingers are incredible. I mean, they
yeah.
can play at such speed and virtuosity, but where's the music?
Mm.
And that to me is the perfect example of wisdom and method. So you
Mm-hmm.
can teach method, and you study method, you can train in method. So where's the training for wisdom? Okay.
Mm.
And what is wisdom? And
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of my book deals with that. So you're
Mm.
asking me, I'm sorry, I digressed a bit, but
Okay.
you're asking me about like
Yeah.
the beginning creative person. It's important to ask yourself,
Yeah.
why are you doing this? Because to
Mm.
me, wisdom starts with the why. You know,
Mm-hmm.
if you can ask yourself uh, the really legitimate, solid question, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Why am I doing anything? That is a very quick road to learning about what you're trying to do. Yeah. It's like,
Yes.
I mean, I among many things I do, I also help administer a theater festival called the Wuzhen Theater Festival in
Mm.
China, which
Mm-hmm.
has become the most important festival in Asia.
Mm.
And once we do a lot of talkbacks with the audience, and so one we had a Chekhov's seagull from Brazil,
Mm-hmm.
and I was talking to the director in with an audience. I said, "Okay, so tell me why you wanted to explore the seagull. Why not Three Sisters? Why not,
Mm.
the cherry orchard?" He said, "Well, I know nothing about Chekhov, and
Mm.
that's why I wanted to do this."
Mm.
Okay, now, Mari, if you hear something like that today, it's totally legit, right? It's
Mhm.
it's legit. It's like you
Yeah.
say, yeah, but when you think about it, hey, it sounds kind of shaky. It's like, hey, I know nothing about Shakespeare, man. So that's why I want to do King Lear. And you say, hey, is that a good idea? I mean, it's good you want to approach
Yeah.
King Lear, but is the reason correct, the motivation for
Mm.
doing it? So I ask my readers,
Mm-hmm.
and I would ask your listeners, if you're starting out as a creative artist, why do you want to do this?
Mm-hmm.
And it may seem obvious, like, I'm talented, I have stories to tell, I have a lot of things I need to express, I have a lot of things I need to work out from my childhood or from my growing up, and but once you start asking these questions,
Mm.
then you start getting a different perspective on the whole situation. Why are you doing this? It's like going back to my example of the director who did Chekhov because he knew
Mm-hmm.
nothing about Chekhov. I must say it was not a very interesting production of The Seagull, and he made some kind of embarrassing mistakes, I
Oh.
must say. Yeah. Well, I mean, he changed things, he changed, and if there are two people who can change things from, like the masters, the
Mm-hmm.
great works, like, either you're a real master and you know that you can handle this
Mm-hmm.
thing, or you're a real novice and you have no idea what you're doing, you know
Yeah.
so, it's like,
Sure.
Hamlet, no problem, Hamlet, we'll do Hamlet in half an hour, let's just cut out, Polonius and Ophelia, and get all these.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, you can do that. It's totally legit in this day and age.
it
But
is.
why? Why do you want to do it? You know,
That question is so important. And what I'm hearing is if the if the why is because I knew nothing about it, that may be a journey that is more personal and not more public. The
The-
figure it out, I know nothing about it. I'm
you
gonna
you
take
nailed
that
it. You nailed
journey.
it. You nailed it.
Yeah,
It's like, I'm not saying that this is not a legitimate, statement. I'm
exactly.
just saying, you know nothing about Chekhov. Then the solution is not necessarily directing a play by Chekhov for the
Right.
public, right?
Sure. Yes. Yeah, it's maybe a more personal journey to familiarize yourself or
Right.
understand why. Yeah.
Study Chekhov for a semester, or
Yeah, it's
yeah,
interesting that like I'm kind of putting some pieces together of there's the wisdom in the method and
right,
the
right.
bringing that kind of full circle.
Oh yeah, because when you get to a certain level, wisdom and method, they work together.
Sure.
There's total method within wisdom, and then there's total wisdom
Yes.
in method.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
love that.
yeah.
Well, thank you for teasing all of this apart and sharing it with my listeners. I am loving all of it. And I so appreciate just your own creative expression and discovery and what that has been, and this ability of divining theater through story and through improv. And what a gift to be able to keep keep sharing and that
Well,
process.
I count I mean, I definitely think I've been blessed with a very long creative career,
Yes.
and I do very much hope to share these. They're not secrets if you know what they are. It's
Right.
just, yeah. But I do have, I mean, having worked for 40 years, you just,
Hmm.
there's something about creativity where you get to a point where where you know more than
Mm,
other people do.
yeah.
I'm working on a play right now, and it's going to premiere in a couple of weeks. And my assistant, very very bright and working with me for many years, and she will be saying, "Hey, you should do this in this scene," and I'll say, maybe, you know, maybe, but I know that she's identifying a problem, but she doesn't
Mm,
see how the answer is, what the
hmm.
solution is,
Mm,
and so it does take time, it does take experience. When you're
yeah.
starting out, it's very frustrating
Hmm.
because creative work is so hard, and there doesn't seem to be a standard answer to anything. It's yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like you have the freedom to do anything, but anything can be wrong and anything can be right, you know so
Absolutely.
how do you can you start making like a sort of a model or a system where you can see that if this is right, that is right. That you have to
Mm,
start working
hmm.
on, or otherwise things will not stick together in the
Yeah,
project that you're making, whatever you're doing. Yeah.
absolutely. In terms of like your own personal creativity,
Hmm.
being that your creativity is career, it is a
Hmm.
career that you've created,
Hmm.
how do you keep your own creative cup full?
Mm. Well, I think the most important thing is to keep your interest in life, in
Mm.
people, in what's going on in the world.
Hmm.
And it's not just an interest. It's not like you're a reporter, investigative, and you want to scoop or something like that. No, it's deepening your understanding of the human situation, and
Mm.
deepening your compassion, basically,
Hmm.
for everything that's happening to people
Yeah.
who are suffering, basically, because that's where our stories are coming from.
Hmm.
There's enormous suffering in the world
Mm.
that comes not necessarily from poverty or whatever, but from intellectual poverty, from all sorts of things, and if
Sure.
you're seeing, and you're seeing trends in the world, and you're seeing how maybe we're on a downward spiral at this moment,
Hmm.
but and then you know channel how that feels to you, and what you want to do about it. Are you
Mm.
angry? Are you
Hmm.
sad? And then that may make you go to work to do something. And it
Hmm.
may not be a work of art. It may be you want to go and get some legislation done and pass some laws.
Sure.
That and that's very creative also. It's
Hmm.
it's it's all the same thing, basically. And
Yeah.
and and you keep asking yourself, why? Why am I doing this? I
Mm.
have a line in an older play of mine where this revolutionary guys, he's talking, and they're he's saying, "Oh, actually, the reason I joined the revolutionary because the girls were hot."
All
Yeah,
right.
yeah. I mean, of course it's a satire.
Yes,
But
sure.
but it's not always that people are really clear about what they're doing when
Hmm.
they get into something like that. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's a very captivating character, that guy. Anyway, in the
It
play.
sounds like you captured that satirical moment quite
Right,
well
right,
in
right, right,
that
right,
line.
right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah,
Well, this has been such a treat getting to chat with you. I have thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. I have one last question.
sure.
What does it feel like in your body to be creative?
Yeah. When you're really into it, you
Mhm.
don't exist.
Mm.
So you don't feel anything. It's the work is just coming out of you,
Mhm.
and I think that's the best place to be.
Mm.
I know that place. I cherish that place. It's not always easy to get there, but
Sure.
when you're there, and one of the keys is to keep figuring out why you want to do these things,
Mhm.
and are you doing it for you, or are you doing it for some other, for the
Mm.
characters, or for another cause,
Mhm.
and always, if it's not for you, it's always better. You always more easily get into that space
Mm.
where you don't exist,
Mhm.
and the better work comes out of that.
Mm.
Really, when you think about all the artists who paint, and they say they lose themselves, or the
Yeah.
musicians who lose themselves in their music, it's
Mm.
the same thing.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that's what it's like. And
Mm. Well, thank
yeah,
you for sharing all of
hey.
these pieces with me and my listeners today. If people want to learn more about your book, the work you have out in the world, how could they go about doing that?
Well, I guess the easiest way would just be to Google Stan Lai,
Okay.
Stanlai. The book is called Creativitry. So it's a play on words with a TRY at the end instead of creativity, and it's available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, everywhere. And once you find that book, you can find a lot of information about myself.
Perfect. Well, I will add links to show notes so people have very easy access. And thank you
Oh, thank
again
you so
so
much.
much for taking the time
Yeah.
to chat with me in the middle of the night. I so
In the middle of the
appreciate
night.
it.
No problem. Yeah, I'm figuring out when do I want to sleep now because I have a 6-hour rehearsal coming up
Whew.
in the afternoon. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's the easy part of it.
Well, thank
Marie,
you again,
thank you so much.
Stan.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
It's great talking to you.
You as well.
Thanks for listening to the Sustaining Creativity podcast. We'd love to keep in touch, so follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We are at Sustaining Creativity. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Tag your friends and family so they can listen too. We love to hear from you, so leave your reviews, comments, and questions. Check out our website, sustainingcreativity.com, for upcoming offerings and creativity coaching. Tune in Tuesdays for our next episode. And remember, with creativity, anything's possible.